What if it took less than a second for a bank to prevent fraud? What if it took just 5 minutes for a patient to receive critical care? What if you could predict equipment failure weeks in advance across every asset, every fleet, and every site? These aren't hypotheticals. They're already happening. The world is shifting. Decisions once made by humans are now expected from systems, in real time, at global scale. Because AI is no longer just a tool, it's an agent. It's time to stop measuring the past and never miss a moment. Teradata powers the world's most demanding decisions with intelligence that reasons, adapts, and acts automatically. Trusted at scale and in real time, with knowledge that enables organizations to move with confidence by shifting from assisted decisions to autonomous ones. In financial services, detecting fraud 200 times faster and deploying models 75% faster to protect every transaction and every customer. In healthcare, we've improved on-time care and service delivery to 97%, so patients and clinicians can depend on care when it matters most. And in manufacturing, predicting equipment failure in advance, saving in excess of $100 million by improving availability with large truck fleets. The era of missed moments is over. The era of activation has begun. Activate your enterprise intelligence and automatically turn every moment into measurable business value.
Welcome to the New York Stock Exchange. Welcome to everybody that's joining us on the live stream. You know, the last time I was here 4 years ago, we were celebrating a pivot for Teradata towards being cloud first. And I'm really proud to say over the last 4 years, we've completely transformed Teradata. Nearly half of our revenue comes from cloud-based solutions. But today, we're pivoting the company again towards the Autonomous Knowledge Platform company. And you're going to, it's not just words on a slide. What you're going to see today is true transformation of our entire product stack. We'll also tell you what we mean by an autonomous knowledge platform. We'll talk about some fantastic advances in our technology in terms of agentifying our entire product stack. We'll talk about how we are working with our customers to move them from pilot to production, to getting real business value from artificial intelligence, Gen AI solutions, large language models. And you'll hear us talking and using language around the Teradata platform that's going to surprise you. And so I'm really excited to work with all of you and help you get the very best from the Teradata platform and help you understand where we're going. And again, these aren't just words on slides. You're going to see some real demonstrations of our capabilities today. You're going to see some real technology that's been launched. You're going to hear from some of our partners in terms of how we're opening up our ecosystem and delivering value together to our customers. It's an exciting time for Teradata. It's truly Teradata 3.0, a new pivot for us as a company. And we look forward to sharing all of that with you and delivering some real value. But to get us started, I'd like to introduce not just the architect of this event, but the architect of our entire product roadmap and our product strategy. And that's our Chief Product Officer, Sumeet Arora. Sumeet, you need a clicker.
I got it. Thank you, Steve. Folks, greetings to everyone. I'm excited to welcome you all to our big platform launch today. As the Chief Product Officer at Teradata, I get to meet a lot of customers. In fact, it is the most delightful part of my job. And when I go to meet these customers, I always ask myself a question: how old is this company? But the reality is, the answer to that question no longer matters. Because in some ways, we're all 6 to 12 months old. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Some of us have brands that go back 45 years, like Teradata, and we have decades of data from all the operational experiences. But the reality is that the ability to translate knowledge and data into action autonomously just shifted. And from that perspective, we are all starting afresh. In fact, what I'll say is that it is not the companies with the most data that will lead the next decade. It is the companies whose knowledge and data can sense, decide, act, and adapt autonomously. Those are the companies that will lead. And today, we are going to show you how we can help you be that company. Because all of us need to be the new company. And what do I mean by the new company? I mean the autonomous enterprise. An autonomous enterprise is one that harnesses all its knowledge using AI's reasoning abilities and delivers a better value proposition to their customers, their employees, and their shareholders. That is the enterprise we are building, the autonomous enterprise. That is the new company we all are building. All right, as we try to build the new company, we must take a fresh look at the new enterprise tech stack. And there is a lot that needs to change there. Why do I say that? As a product builder, the first thing we must always look at is who are we building it for? And the who for the enterprise tech stack has changed. We're now building for agents. So what about humans? Well, humans are also predominantly using agents, and I know that from surveys and everything that I watch. So we're building for agents. And where is it that we are spending our time? We are not going to be spending our time across the 150 plus different SaaS applications that exist in any enterprise. We're going to be spending time in agentic AI workspaces like Claude. So you have agents and humans coming to work, humans with agents, they're spending time in AI workspaces. These AI workspaces are now powered by tools, AI tools. These AI tools, I'm going to leave you with this one statement, they are essentially knowledge computing tools. They make knowledge computable. And of course, the AI tools are fueled by knowledge, which is the combination of all your structured data, but also your unstructured information, the processes, the way you treat your customers, the documents, the decisions, the videos, whatever mode it may be. That is the knowledge that fuels the AI tools. But if I fed all of my enterprise knowledge directly to the AI tools, it's going to be TMI, too much information. That is where context comes in. Knowledge must be contextualized based on the task that the agent is going to perform. So that is the enterprise tech stack. And we have evolved the Teradata vision to support the evolution to the new enterprise tech stack. We are the autonomous AI and knowledge platform. 3 pillars. We've expanded from structured data to cover knowledge. We have added AI and co-located it with knowledge so that we can translate knowledge into action right there. That's why we have invested in AI, and it's a unified system. And if our customers are about to go autonomous, if everybody needs to build that new company, the autonomous enterprise, then the technology that we offer must be autonomous as well. We must leverage agentic techniques to make it easy to use Teradata and derive value from it. And that is why I'm excited to bring this vision to life. Now, we bring this vision to life through the Teradata Autonomous Knowledge Platform, which is the launch we are doing today. And it is a profound shift. Let me kind of highlight this. This is the world we have lived in so far. We had all the knowledge being collected, all the data being collected, all documents, maybe good or bad, but it was being collected. And then we had all the decision makers here, mostly humans. And there is a gap between the two, a time gap when this was collected, when this was used, a translation gap, this is what it meant, but this is how it was interpreted, and a bottleneck. You had so much knowledge, but very little of it was being translated into action. That is changing. By merging agentic AI and knowledge together, we are making knowledge itself get to the point where it can sense, decide, act, and adapt. That is the autonomous knowledge platform. That is what it means. And we bring that to life, that platform to life, through some amazing product components. The Tera is the agentic AI workspace. This is where humans and AI agents come to work. We'll talk about that. AI Studio is the computing environment and all the tools that Tera needs. And we bring that to life with knowledge in the cloud, with Teradata Cloud, or on-premises with Teradata Fabric, connect it all together with, Teradata Factory, and connect it all together with Fabric, and bring it to life in real customer use cases through services. So we're going to talk about all the details behind this. We're going to go through that. We'll spend time, but it is time to first get an outside-in perspective. And I want to start with the industry perspective itself, not a Teradata perspective alone, but an industry perspective. And there is no one better than Ray Wang to do that for us, because he's the founder and CEO of Constellation Research, and in his role, he gets to meet with thousands of leaders. In fact, I don't know how he does it. He does many cities in the same week. I was just chatting with him before this conversation. So I'm going to ask Ray to come on stage and share with us what he's seeing in the industry and how he's seeing the shift from what exists to the new company, the new enterprise. Ray, over to you.
Ray Wang is with us. He's our tech guy.
We want to bring in Constellation Research principal analyst and founder, Ray Wang. Ray, it's great to see you here. So lots to unpack. You got
we can bring in Ray Wang, founder of the tech advisory firm Constellation Research.
Ray Wang is with us.
Everyone, how you doing? Come on, good morning. We're going to spend some time talking about trends in the age of AI, but more importantly, talking about what's happening. We've been spending time with CEOs, CXOs. We had about 120 public board of directors and CEOs in one place, and guess what? Every CEO thought they were the chief AI officer. There is a big shift going on in here, and we actually believe that companies who are putting AI into work are going to have a 10-to-1 advantage. This is a business model shift. This is a transformation in how you operate. It's not just about the technology, but in order to do that, you have to have a data foundation. If you don't have a data foundation, you don't get to win. And this is part of the digitization effort we've been working on for a long time. This data strategy spans from the internet age to the AI age, and it's only going to continue. If you don't have a data foundation, you don't get to play. And we're going to see this across the board. But guess what? Everybody is an AI company now. Have you just seen this in a few days? It's new birds, right? We're now in the space. But the point here is the first movers and those who adopt agentic AI platforms and a business model, they're the ones that are going to transform. Now, what are those big trends that are out here? Well, we're a futures firm. We think about politics, economics, society, technology, environment, and legislative, and we put all those things into play, then we actually can think about what the mega trends are. We're going to give you 3 that matter, 3 that are important in the boardroom, 3 that you should take home today. The first one is margin compression. The second one is, well, actually, we'll start with margin compression. It is margin compression because you feel like you're working 10x harder and you're standing still. Now, think about the Fortune 500. In 450 of the Fortune 500, they're at single-digit growth. I would normally call these zombie companies. This is a bad situation. They're working 10x harder, but they're not seeing the gains, the productivity that you would see in AI, and you're feeling like this. You're in the hamster wheel. You're not moving, but you're working so hard. Now, this is part of the challenge because we're in a situation where cost structure and workload economics are in place. You've got to figure out how to drive down that cost structure and, more importantly, handle much more velocity in workloads. The second trend is exponential scale, and this is disrupting markets. We are actually in a 10x, 100x, 1000x marketplace. And what that means is you have to be able to think in that scale. Let me give you an example. We just had an amazing launch, Artemis, Boeing, NASA. They took everyone up into space further than anyone could ever go. But let's take something simple like low Earth orbit satellites. Who is 1/10 the cost of Boeing or NASA in launching a rocket? Anybody here in the room? Yell out the name. SpaceX. Now, who is 1/10 the cost of SpaceX in launching low Earth orbit rockets? ISRO, the Indian Space Agency. Now, if you're Boeing and NASA and you're like, we're gonna make a 40% improvement, a 50% cost reduction, you're already in the wrong scale. This is a 10x, 100x, 1000x issue, and now we have a situation. Let's look at a little skirmish that's going on at the moment. $2 million Patriot missiles versus $20,000 UAV drones versus $2,000 drones. That is a scale issue. In fact, that's a very short war if you don't prep for it properly. Let's think about power and data consumption. It's 26 cents a kilowatt hour in Europe. It's 16 cents, 18 cents average in the US. I live in California, it's definitely not average. And if you think about what's in China, it's going from 8 cents to 6 cents to 4 cents. That's a very, very big scaling issue. And let's look at financial services. We're in the heart of financial services. How much does it cost to transfer money? Well, I did a wire yesterday, it was $35. An ACH transaction is $1.50. How much is it to move money in Brazil and India with PIX and UPI? Take a guess. Yell it out. 0. How do you scale against 0? This is happening everywhere. We have to be faster or better, faster, better, or cheaper. Actually, faster and better and cheaper across the board because we're in an age of exponential scale with AI. And time compression is here to stay. Now, you're seeing this everywhere. If you don't believe me, go to this website, tinyteams.xyz. It is crazy. 20 people, 200 million ARR. 10 people, 200 million ARR. That is the scaling we are seeing in the software world. And that is only going to continue. Now, what does that mean? We have an age of AI exponentials that are popping up. And so every company has an opportunity to go from an AI Luddite to an AI exponential if they actually apply AI. Because what's going on? Expertise is a commodity, but experience isn't. And unlike the internet age, in the AI age, what we're going to see is a shift. The companies that actually have experience that can apply technologies are going to flip the script. This is not like the internet age where companies out of nowhere disrupted brick and mortar. In fact, it's the companies that have the experience, the data, the strategy. Those are the ones that are going to flip the game. And it's going to be 1 or 2 in every industry that gets this, and the gap is going to be huge. Which leads us to the conversation around infinite possibilities. In an age of AI, we can code at the speed of thought, but we also have to apply strategy. Now, what is the essence of strategy? Anybody know? Please jump in. What do you think? Execution, definitely a great answer. Anyone else? Where to play, how to win, classic Roger Martin. Anyone else? Vision, okay, mission. And the other most important thing in the essence of strategy is tell me what you are not going to do. Apple could have built an EV. And it might have looked at like this. Ooh, horrible, right? But the answer is it was a race to the bottom. And Apple builds luxury goods in a mass market situation. This would not have qualified because the race to $7,000 a vehicle from Chinese EV manufacturers is not the way to go. And so you have to figure out what you're not going to do. And that is just as important as what you're going to build. Because the order of operations, actually the precision in order of operations is more important than ever. Because you have to say, I want this market, I want this industry in this geography, and you have to go for it because everyone's going to race for it. And this is not a game of speed, this is a game of velocity. Because speed means we can be going around in circles, but in velocity, we have speed and direction. And if you don't know where you're going and how you're going to get there, you will fall behind. This is a time compression game. And the most critical aspect of this is the fact that we're not going to get rid of more people with AI. Actually, we're compressing time. You need more experts and experienced people because the critical path comes back to you. You may have sent someone to do research to come back, and that would have taken 2 weeks in the past, and now comes back in 2 hours. You might have sent someone to do a project in a month, and it comes back in a week. And the critical path comes back to the human every time and they make that decision. So you also have to staff up for speed, which is the difference. So how do we scale outcomes with AI? There's a law out there, you can put it in Google. The AI intelligence is doubling every 7 months. That means you have to keep up with data and a data strategy that moves at velocity. We have to look at 7 different places we can actually start. Of course, regulatory compliance is great. We bucket our projects into 7 different categories. You're going to see opportunities in revenue growth and operational efficiency like you've never seen. But the ultimate goal here is about decision velocity. You and I make a snap decision. It takes how long to get out of the board? A week? A month? A quarter? Maybe never? Machines are making hundreds, even thousands of decisions per second. And if that's happening, you have more at-bats, and you have more cycles, and that's what's giving you that advantage. And what we're doing is we're collapsing decision trees and figuring out when and where we insert a human. And when you do that, we can then figure out exactly what goes on. You insert a human because the algorithms aren't good enough. You insert a human because it's regulatory compliance. You insert a human in a collapsed decision tree because you want better personalized service. You have to make that decision. So where does that take us? We can vibe code and prototype at the speed of thought, but it doesn't mean it's good quality. And so we have to take the time and apply experience. Instead of expertise, we want experience to connect the dots. The second thing is when we do connect the dots, what we want to be able to do is think about the broader picture. Focus on business outcomes. Focus on what you're trying to achieve and why that needs velocity. And then we can apply industry expertise to be able to be successful with all these new techniques. They're sitting in front of you. And of course, this is about decision velocity. How to do it faster, better, cheaper. And we have to build for humans. Because if we're the critical path and machines are moving so fast, we've got to be able to catch up. And ultimately, we can all become AI exponentials with the right foundation and an autonomous knowledge approach. Thank you very much.
If I were to summarize what we just heard from Ray, and thank you, Ray, it's basically 2 takeaways for me. One, the exponential scaling, like 10x. And that's important. 10x velocity, 10x reduction in risk, 10x cheaper. That's huge. And the second thing I took away was the sense of urgency, like this time compression. And those are important lessons. Let's get one more important perspective, which is now let's come back to Teradata and hear about what we are getting to hear from our customers, our field. And there is no one better than our CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, Richard Petley, to share that with us, because in his role, he gets to meet with a lot of customers and he gets to hear that. So Richard, welcome.
Good morning, everybody. It's a real honor and pleasure to be here. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. I've got 2 things I want to cover with you this morning. I have to say, though, by way of starting, that following Ray is not an easy act to follow, so I'll try and bring his energy, but I may not manage that with my Britishness. But look, there's a couple of things to talk about. Firstly, Sumeet and Steve both talked about Teradata 3.0 as a natural evolution for us as a company from the foundation of things that we've built on for many years, and that's true. We see that every day in the conversations we have with customers who are really interested in this concept of activating their enterprise intelligence. These 3 words are simple to say, but they mean so much for our customers. It's about how do you collate and develop that enterprise memory? How do you turn that memory into action? And how do you do something valuable and interesting for your enterprise based on the action that you pull together from that memory? All of that requires 4 things, and they're 4 things that Teradata is very comfortable in developing with our customers. The concept of enterprise knowledge. We've been working in that space with our customers around the world for literally decades, and we're lucky enough to serve many of the biggest, the most complex enterprises in the most important mission-critical industries in the world, regulated and non-regulated, global and local, government and public. We serve those clients all around the world. Everybody talks about AI being grounded in context. And of course, Teradata understands context very deeply. For many years, we've had industry data models, for example, which allow our customers to develop standardized approaches to building analytics and data infrastructure, incredibly relevant in the era of AI. Of course, you need trustworthy autonomy, you need governance. Again, Teradata for many years has been working in the governance space as it relates to our core competencies. And of course, you need to deliver all of that at enterprise scale, and you need optionality in how you deliver that to the enterprise, whether that's a cloud-based realization, whether it's hybrid, whether it's on-prem, whether it's a mixture of all of the above, and whether you want to change your mind later. We're uniquely positioned to help our customers understand the opportunities and challenges that presents. And when you can ground that in the customer relationships we have today, we serve healthcare clients around the world, helping to pull together decades of institutional memory related to their customers, to clinical pathways, to client interactions, to outcomes delivered, pulling all of that together into one analytic system that allows them to make determinations and improve the experience of the organizations and individuals that they serve, resulting in tens of billions of savings over the 2 or so years that we've been working together building those AI systems. You could take an example in banking, where we've worked with many banking clients on personalization journeys. How do you identify customers who have a high risk of churning before they've even made the decision to churn? How can you do that? Well, because you have context about the many years of relationships that you've developed with those customers. You can pick up signals about how they're interacting with the bank, the sentiment, the transaction history, all of the associated data that's pulled together. All of that context sends a signal. We're enabling our customers to make a decision on that signal, make proactive offers, save customers before they even decide to churn, let alone before that reality happens. This is the difference with Teradata, and we're proud to be part of that journey for many of our customers. Now, it's not just our customers who are experiencing these opportunities and challenges. We asked Wakefield Research to do a survey of the industry, not Teradata customers, but 1,000 organizations in the Senior Tech and Data Leadership Forum, asking them about their agentic AI adoption experience. And there's some really interesting statistics that came out of this. You can read the chart for yourself, but it's fascinating, isn't it? That only 17% of those organizations referred to themselves as having broadly deployed agentic AI solutions. 25% of them had a formal roadmap, but 14% were still developing a plan. There's an enormous gap at the moment between the ambition and the potential for agentic AI and organizations' ability to realize it. And that's the problem that Teradata is focused on at the moment. There's a window, we think, for us to help our customers turn those plans and ambitions, those opportunities and challenges, into a reality that makes sense for their business plan. In the same study, although it's not on the chart, most of them said that 1 in 5 of their AI pilots failed to reach production. So it just goes to show that you can start a program with AI, but it's very difficult to turn that program into production. That's a gap, that's an opportunity, that's a problem that Teradata is laser focused on solving for our customers. We also asked them, what keeps you awake at night? As you think about your agentic AI plans and your agentic AI future, what are the problems that you're trying to solve? And we had these 3 things highlighted to us. One was around velocity. How do you maintain performance as workloads scale? How do you make sure that the potential for very significant scaling, Ray talked about it in his presentation of these AI workloads. How do you maintain the velocity as that builds out? How do you manage risk, particularly if you're working in a regulated environment, but indeed in non-regulated environments as well? And of course, how do you control cost? As your infrastructure scales, as your use of agentic AI solutions grows in volume and velocity, how do you maintain a cost position that doesn't scale linear with the adoption of this technology? Now, that's almost word for word, I think, the core Teradata value proposition, and it has been for many years. The industry has almost caught up with the Teradata architecture, and we think that creates a tremendous opportunity for our clients to realize a huge amount of value into the future. We can't wait to get started on that journey with our customers. We're looking forward to building on that. And today we're going to share with you a lot more about how we see our technology roadmap and our experiences with customers today evolving in that direction. It's been a pleasure to spend a bit of time with you today. I'm going to hand back to Sumit to take you through the rest of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich. Folks, if I were to summarize what we heard from Rich, there were 2 observations. One is, in that survey, 100% of our customers are building agentic AI. No surprise, I think. That's clear. Everybody's trying to build that new company, the autonomous enterprise. We have to. Second is there is a huge gap between knowledge and action, between pilot and production. You saw that in the results of the survey. So why is it? What challenges are our customers facing when it comes to becoming that new company? And you're going to see this theme throughout our talk today, which is it's about building that new company. All right, so what challenges are they facing? Well, Richard shared with us, and I'm going to quickly highlight them. Obviously, we heard from Ray, everybody wants to get there fast. So velocity. Can we get there fast? Do I have the technology, the platforms to get there fast? Velocity, right? The second piece is, hey, I want to get there with high velocity, but I want to make sure that I do it minimizing my risk and also do it in a manner that scales with respect to cost. Let me talk about that a little bit. I have heard this directly from customers. They're building agents, and the agents are data starved. So what do? They try to move data to where they're building agents. They're trying to move data to where AI is. That's a huge problem. That is a lot of risk and a lot of expense. All right? So that's the second problem. The third piece is, as they look at scaling, and I've heard this also from my customers, hey, I'm doing these hundreds of thousands of agents and I'm really worried what that does. Do I have to go back to my CFO to ask for more budget? That is the question, right? And I hear that because the question is, can I do all this scaling without breaking the bank? So we're going to cover these problems and solve for them today. Let's start with the velocity challenge. Do I have the technology, the platform to become that new company, the autonomous enterprise at high velocity, with high velocity? All right. So this is where two components of the Teradata Autonomous Knowledge Platform come in, Tera and AI Studio. Tera is the agentic AI workspace. This is where agents and humans go to work. All right. And the other way to say this is where knowledge is operationalized. Knowledge is translated to action by humans or by agents autonomously. What does Tera need? It is complemented with AI Studio. AI Studio provides the data computer to agents and humans that are working in Tera. It provides the computing environment, the software tools, and most importantly, context. What is context? A simple way to remember context is experience. Experience in financials, experience in healthcare, that is context. That is what Tera and AI Studio do. So let's double click into Tera, right? Tera is where you get skills and agents to work with data, compute, and context. We built this for both agents and humans, and the skills here are portable. The way we are building the skills in Tera, they can be used in other agentic AI workspaces, like Claude. We could use them there. That's how we are building it. So how did we design Tera? We designed Tera around the personalities that work with data. It's around these personas. So there is Tera Analyze, which helps you explore data, helps you analyze data, and it models after the analyst, right? There is Tera Code, which helps you write code against all the stuff in database capabilities, Teradata build, or even public open source libraries to build, deploy, and govern agents, for example. It helps you write that code. Again, agents can write that code, humans can write that code. We built it for both. And that is modeled after the builder persona. And the third piece is Tera Claw, which will come later in the year, which is the manager persona. And it is going to help you orchestrate multi-agent systems. That is important. So Tera, remember, skills are portable. Agents and humans go to work here. We built it for both. Like Ray said, don't forget humans. So absolutely. And Tera is supported by the Teradata AI Studio. As I said, when you go to work, when we go to work, agents go to work, humans go to work, we need a computer, right? Think of AI Studio as the computer, all right? So what do you do with the computer? You need storage, you need networking, you need literally a computing environment, you need a scalable Python environment, fully parallel. The AI Studio provides that. It also provides the software you need to work with data, vectors, and models. Data, as we know it, structured data. Vectors represents unstructured information. Models means model training, model inferencing. You need to be able to do that. Another way to describe AI Studio is that this is your knowledge computing platform. This is where knowledge becomes computable, right? AI Studio directly operates on your structured and unstructured information. So in AI Studio, you get all the stacks. You get the analytics stacks for human, for agents. You get agentic analytics through a partner. We're going to talk about that. You get the ability to do vector search and all the vector services, the ability to work with models. All this is packaged together. The most important thing that we are adding to AI Studio is the ability to deliver context. That is Teradata's 45 years of work with different industries. So now imagine you get a computer, but it comes ready with context for that industry, right? That is Teradata AI Studio. I want to take this further through a demo. I would like to ask Richa Vyas, who is the head of engineering for agent and user experiences. So note that title, it's a little different at Teradata. And she's going to come show us Tera in action. Richa? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sumi. Very excited to be here, and even more excited to talk about Tera. All right, let's do this. Let's take a look at it. What if your data could think? Not just store, not just report, but reason and act. I want to introduce Tera. Tera, the agentic AI-powered workspace. It doesn't just answer questions. It reasons, it acts, it builds. 3 modes, 1 workspace. Let me show you what autonomy feels like. Let's look at Tera from supply chain lens. Supply chain workspace opens in Tera Analyze, the mode you give to anyone who needs to understand data faster without writing a single line of code. And Tera is not a blank chat box. It has the context. I'm asking, what is the stock impact from the shipping delays? Talk me through the best rerouting options. 1 natural language question, no table names, no sequels. And watch what Tera does. 6 reasoning steps streaming in real time. It returns a table, a rank list, and a chart. What takes an analyst half a day? Done in seconds here. That's Analyze. Ask a question, get a trusted answer. But what if we need to go from analysis to act? That's Tera Code, the builder in the Tera family. We can extend Tera Code with domain-specific skills like pre-built ones here. Tera Code builds, deploys across Teradata platform. I'm choosing an agent builder skill here and asking Tera to build me an alternative sourcing agent, one that finds me supply when my tier 2 supply when my original supply is impacted. I don't need to learn any frameworks here. The agent is already building in a most transparent and secured way. It's validating agent permissions against my session role. The agent is ready. The network is restricted to allow domains only, memory backed by Teradata. And the key design principle, it will never submit a purchase order without a human involved. Analyze reasons over data. Code builds and deploys. But what if we need to go from a single agent to multi-agent? Because single agent working alone isn't quite enterprise autonomy. Allow me to introduce Tera Claw, the autonomous multi-agent system automation and orchestration. 3 modes, 3 agents in the supply chain workspace, each with a heartbeat, but dormant until a signal matches their trigger. The disruption response agent woke up to a carrier advisory. Possible supplier delay, 12 POs at risk, 4.2 million revenue exposure, 28 days of delay. It escalates to the VP of supply chain and goes dormant again. The outreach response agent drafts 6 supplier emails, queues them up for review. Once approved, the emails are sent. 2 suppliers confirm delays. The outreach agent contacts the Tier 2 supplier and drafts a PO for approval. We just saw the supply chain disruption getting resolved in 4 hours, all autonomously, with human involved every decision that mattered. Claw will be available for a private preview for a select set of customers. How long does a process like this take in your organization today? With the team of Tera Agent, we can go from weeks to days. Tera makes the whole platform intelligent. And that happens when you don't just store data. Analyze for understanding, code for building, Claw for autonomy. Over to you, Samir.
Thank you. Thank you, Richa. And folks, just to take a little example there, the first time this happened, you had human in the lead, you had the decision making, but all that is also getting captured and getting captured in the context. So next time the system becomes even better. And that is how context gets continuously built in any system. All right, so what did we see? We saw Tera, the place, the agentic AI workspace where agents and humans go to work, right? And that's where knowledge is translated to action. It is the place where knowledge is operationalized. Now, we are going to go through Teradata AI Studio, but before I do that, I want to talk about why another special thing, which is our partners, right? As we built the Tera and the Teradata AI Studio, which is a combined system to make knowledge essentially sense, decide, act, and adapt, we felt that it was important to take specialized technologies, the best of breed technologies, and bring them together. So what we did is we partnered with Wisdom.ai to add agentic analytics capabilities for both the business users and the agents into Teradata AI Studio. So to augment that, we partnered with Pinecone to make sure that we could take care of select operational use cases with vectors and partner also on context. We partnered with Carini to provide a no-code way to do agent lifecycle management inside of Teradata. And we partnered with Unstructured to make sure that we could expand the platform's breadth to include multimodal sources of information, documents, audios, images, and also videos. So by putting together all these best of breed technologies in a carefully integrated fashion, keeping the users and agents in mind, we have made AI Studio and Tera ready to help you build that new company. But let's see AI Studio in action. I'm going to ask Raj Shukla, our head of AI engineering, to come on stage and show and demonstrate AI Studio. Raj?
Wow, excited to be here. All right, folks, I'll show you a demo of AI Studio. And I'm going to stick to the supply chain theme here. Why supply chain? Well, because it's a very complex system. Anyone who knows how global supply chain works and how your enterprise depends on it knows that you can control what you can, but in this domain, there's a lot of external signals. So there's a lot of signals coming in that you have to act on. There's a lot of predictions and simulations that you have to do in order to know what the impact could be or what you could do, and eventually you have to act. So there's a lot of building blocks to build, and you build all of that in AI Studio. Oops. So this is AI Studio. This is where all the action happens. This is where we build. We'll first get started with data, because there is no AI without data. This is where all the data lands. In global supply chain, there's a lot of unstructured data. There's vessel images, supplier emails, logistic contracts, just a ton of images, PDFs, even audios and videos that sit here. All of this lands here, ready to be extracted and stored as semantic embeddings. With our partnership with Unstructured, you get a rich no-code builder experience. But behind the scenes, there's large vision models and embedding models that do the act of partitioning, chunking, and embedding. All of this gets stored in our vector store and is ready to act. Watch this shipping advisory as it flows through in the signal, get converted into vessel codes, port IDs, and other delay information. All of this is extracted just the right way, no hallucination for your downstream models or agents going forward. So now that we know what happened exactly in terms of data, we have to analyze, or we have to predict what the impact would be. In order to do that, you better have a prediction model. And data scientists are very good at building these prediction models, and they like to live in notebooks. In Teradata AI Workspace, you get a native notebook experience. And you can see here that my data scientists have actually built a few models, like the inventory depletion model and delay model. But this data scientist is a little new to simulation modeling. No worries. This is where Tera code comes in. Watch how Tera assists this data scientist in terms of building their whole life cycle of simulation modeling. We go ahead and add a workspace, and Tera gets into action, first by writing a plan. You get a plan, you can store the plan in a markdown file. This is the workspace that's a common one for agents and builders to act and build from it. Watch as Tera code assists you in building this model. It is using open source libraries, and it is using Teradata ML functions and in-database functions together with it. So, a common problem we saw with our users is it was hard to onboard to Teradata. And Tera code is assisting in that by reducing the time for onboarding from days to minutes. As this model gets built, all of this is backed by our scalable Python compute and an inference stack that will allow this model to be hosted, deployed, and available as an endpoint. That endpoint can be made available as a tool to an agent, or it can be used in your downstream workflows as you need. So now that we have data, now we have a prediction on what could the impact of this delay could be. We have to act. And to act, you need to have an agent. In Teradata AI Studio, you get both pro code and no code builder experiences. Here, our partnership with Carini goes a long way in giving a really simple way to build agents. In this case, I'm building a disruption response agent that starts with a trigger, has a condition on analyzing what model should I call. And this is one of the two models that I just built in the previous screen. It will pull the human in the loop depending on the extent of how bad the advisory is. And it will act very fast. So once you get the trigger, analyzing what happened, who to pull in from a human in the loop, and acting on it takes a matter of hours. In Teradata AI Studio, both models and agents are treated as artifacts with performance monitoring, evaluation gates, and governance built in. No separate ops tool chains required as it exists today in other platforms. But there are other personas in your company who don't live in notebooks and builder experiences, like your analyst. With our partnership with Wisdom AI, we are supercharging the analytics experience, the agentic analytic experience for these analysts. Our analysts can simply go and ask a natural language question, like which POs are at risk and what's our exposure? And watch how the agent takes this question, pulls in all the context that was provided so far, gets the semantic information, and returns you an ordered list of POs with the cited impact that is associated with it. I can take these dashboards and I can take these charts and start adding to my dashboards, and I can just continue with my analysis, expecting the context to be pulled in as needed. You would notice that as I'm adding these charts to my dashboard, what I get is actually a living, breathing artifact that can be shared with my teammates, but it is also shared with agents who have access to this complete information. So completing the loop, this is, in a nutshell, Teradata AI Studio. We started with AI-driven event detection to predicting the impact of it to agent-driven action all in one platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Raj. Folks, just to keep us all grounded, we're building the new company, building the autonomous enterprise. We looked at the velocity problem, right? Can I get there fast? Can I build it fast? Tera, the AI studio, and our partnerships give you all the tools to translate knowledge into action right where knowledge is. Now, it's a second problem, which is relevant to what I just said. When I speak with customers, they are all building agents, and many of those projects are data starved. And they are having to take shortcuts to take data to where agents are. So the question is, does your AI live where your data and knowledge live, or do you need to move your knowledge around? Which is very risky, very expensive. This is where Teradata Fabric and Teradata Factory come in. There is a unique promise that Teradata makes to all of our customers. We will ship the same stack, the same innovation, the same experience, the same capabilities as much as possible wherever you may choose for it to be, in multi-cloud, on-prem, or a mix with hybrid. We do that, only we do that really well. Now, what is the Fabric? Fabric is a unique Teradata capability that allows agents to access knowledge that sits inside Teradata, wherever that knowledge may be, without moving data. So essentially, your agents could be built in an environment where they connect to Teradata Fabric, and instead of moving data, we move the queries down and compute those queries right next to where data lives. No data moves. That is Teradata Fabric. Teradata Factory, so the Fabric essentially connects all these environments, on-prem, multi-cloud, hybrid. The other aspect to Fabric increasingly is that it also connects to sovereign cloud. So we'll talk about that shortly. Now, I'm super excited that today we are also launching a brand new architecture for on-premises through the Teradata Factory. It is a modular architecture. It is immensely scalable from small to very large systems. It can meet multiple use cases on-prem, EDW, Lakehouse, analytics, AI can do that. It's built for that. It comes equipped with CPUs, GPUs, block storage, object storage, so you can decide what to use for your workload. And it's built in partnership with Dell and NVIDIA. I will say this, that Teradata Factory is purpose-built. In fact, the entire software architecture of Teradata is purpose-built for sovereign environments, for sovereign control, which, by the way, has become an increasingly important conversation at the global scale. So, to cover that topic, this topic of sovereign cloud, I'm going to ask Praveen Gorur, Managing Director at Accenture and the leader for sovereign cloud at Accenture, to come and join me on stage for a conversation. Praveen?
It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations for the launch. It's great to see what you're launching here today. It's very, very appropriate.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you for flying all the way from UK
look forward.
And for a day and be with us here today. So I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions here. The phrase "your cloud, your rules" is at the heart of our discussion.
That's right.
Sovereign cloud. And I think it's going to evolve. It's going to evolve to your cloud, your AI, your rules. So from your unique standpoint, what is the primary driver for this demand, and how are you at Accenture delivering on it?
Yeah, as Sumit, as we spoke, right, I've been focusing on, from Accenture perspective, on sovereign and sovereign cloud for almost 2-3 years now. And if you look at the broader world, whether it's Europe and APAC, there is a huge demand for need for sovereign cloud for various reasons, right? One of the primary drivers initially 2 years back started with what was a regulation and a compliance checkbox. There's no longer a need for compliance. It is much beyond compliance, and everybody is wanting to really innovate in the world of sovereign. They want to have control of their data. They want to have control of where and how they operate the data and how they manage their cloud. So there is an increasing need in the broader market outside of US. And even in US, we see a lot of requirements where people are looking to do things in-house in their own data centers and get the advantage of what can be done with leveraging all of the technologies available today. But in reality, I think if in Europe and APAC, there is need to move from beyond compliance to actually drive value and do things where they are in their boundaries, right? And That's been an increasing need from the customers, and we have been working very cohesively with them in helping them at every layer, whether it is the infrastructure, can we help it build at your data center, whether it is the application layer, whether it's the AI layer, and that is what we have been working very closely. And that's where what you launched today is very, very appropriate, because we have had so many customers just wanting to get the infra, but they want to know what they can do with it, because it is not compliance, it is all about value today. Yeah.
That's amazing. So it's more than compliance, it's
Correct.
all like get me the full innovation, no
Correct.
compromise, but do it
That's
in a
right.
sovereign fashion. That's amazing. That's great. Let's maybe ask the next question here.
Sure.
So when your clients evaluate sovereign AI
Yeah.
solutions, what's the biggest gap right now between what they need versus what's available today?
Yeah, so I think when we talk to clients, right, everybody wants sovereign, as I mentioned. Everybody wants to do things on their own home ground in their own data centers. But beyond the infrastructure, they grapple with choices. They grapple with how do I get the sovereign move into a AI and drive AI. So it's not just the infra layer, it's the whole application stack. What applications can I run? What models can I run? How can I drive value from these models? Where can the data come from? How effectively I can do this is a big question that everybody asks. Right? And that's a point that we are trying to help them. Because of various reasons that we mentioned, everybody is rushing to build a sovereign infrastructure, and the next layer is where everybody really wants innovation and trying to understand how they work together in this particular area, right? And like what you launched today will really help us to elevate the conversation and help customers understand how they can drive AI inferencing out of it, right?
So basically go beyond infra.
Go beyond, correct.
The full stack, give me everything.
That's right.
Basically, that's what we heard. So let's tackle one more question.
Sure.
Trust. Trust is the cornerstone of any sovereign offering. And like, what do you see are the essential elements for building that trust?
Yeah.
And then how does, recently we brought up Teradata on Google Distributed
that's
Cloud,
right.
the air-gapped environment in partnership with you.
Thank you.
So how does Google plus Accenture plus Teradata partnership foster a robust ecosystem?
Yeah, so I think sovereign again goes back to the point that the whole thing is built around trust. You need people who are locally operating it in local countries with relevant SC clearance, right? And the whole ecosystem is built on partnership, right? And when we have leading products coming on from Google, like the Google Distributed Cloud air-gapped, which is widely known within the military and defense, the regulated industries, it is also about building. The picture does not complete, or the use case does not complete without the ecosystem coming together, right? A few weeks back, we from Accenture launched an innovation center in Brussels, where we put a true sovereign air-gapped environment where we can bring partners, customers, ourselves, innovate truly over there, and then take it to the customers, because today there is no such proving ground in the world, right? And for sovereign AI to be really successful, the whole ecosystem needs to come together. And when you really talk about the regulated industries, right, they are far behind from commercial industries in terms of understanding how to drive value out of AI. And that's where they're really looking for help and partners and ecosystems to come together. And that's where we value a partnership with Teradata very heavily, very highly, because we can really show them the power of what you launched today, along with Google, GDC, air-gapped, and as well as other technologies that's available in the market, and show them the true value that we can bring across the ecosystem. So I'm really excited to see how we can work on this together and take it to the market.
Praveen, it's just been amazing partnering with you.
Thank you. And it's great, Sumit, working with your
great
team.
stuff. Thank you.
And congratulations and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Praveen, for joining us. All right. Folks, we're going to go to the third problem. But again, I'm going to ground us. We're building the new company, the autonomous enterprise. We looked at the velocity problem. Then we looked at essentially, hey, does your AI live where your knowledge and data lives? And we spoke about Fabric. We spoke about Teradata Factory. We spoke about sovereign cloud, right? The ability to meet and serve all these needs. Let's go to the third challenge. The third challenge is, now that we are all transitioning to building this new company, and scale is going to become a big factor, right? We have to do this at scale. And as I shared with you earlier, there are companies who are putting hundreds of thousands of agents out there, and there is a worry. Is this going to break the bank? Why is there? It's not an unfounded concern, especially with unbounded consumption pricing. That is the norm in cloud. So how do we solve for that? This is where our new take for Teradata Cloud comes in. But let me at least elaborate on the problem statement a little bit. Now, most of the current economics is built around human working hours, essentially, right? But what we are going to find out is that with agents, we can operate our companies differently. We can operate the companies all the time. So in effect, we're almost about to enter an era called the always-on economy era. So what could that mean? That could mean that things that used to shrink and expand or used to work only during busy hours now need to work all the time. Like computing needs to be there all the time for some of these use cases, right? So there is that time factor. The other thing that is happening is we humans, when we ask questions from our data platforms, we have experience. So we have like a gut feel and intuition. So our questions are very nuanced. We may ask 4 or 5 questions and we know how to make a decision. But agents ask a lot of questions. So the volume, variety, and velocity of queries from agents is massive. And that is why we thought about Teradata Cloud from a fresh perspective and said, how would we build the cloud for the agentic era? How would we do that? And what we have done essentially is focused on a new approach where we have combined what we call as active compute. This is always on, and Teradata has a natural strength. Teradata has a natural architectural strength where it knows how to pack maximum workloads, mixed workloads, onto an always-on compute and yet guarantee SLAs. We know how to do that really well. But we have matched and paired the active compute, the always-on compute, with elastic compute. Because there are obviously use cases and workloads which need that elastic compute. And this elastic compute can expand, shrink, can come and go. You pay as much as you use. And we've combined the two with an intelligent workload management layer on top that now can optimize for cost and SLAs. So now this intelligent workload management, obviously agentic in nature, can decide on your behalf, where should that workload go? Should I pack it into my active compute, the always-on compute, get you the most juice? Or should I let it run in an elastic compute offer and because it's that nature of the workload? That is a unique capability in Teradata Cloud. And we have combined that with a new pricing model, which is a fixed plus flex pricing model, putting the control in the hands of our customers. Customers decide how much of fixed price and fixed compute they want and the peace of mind, and we'll pack that and max utilize it, and how much of flex they want, which they can pay as they use, because there are some things that need that. And we do both, and we do intelligent workload management on top. So this is a new approach to cloud, a cloud that is ready for that agentic workload, the agents that never sleep, and the agents that ask a lot more questions. All right, we are going to now look at how we achieve autonomous part of that vision, right? I said it's an autonomous AI and knowledge platform. So what we did with the Teradata Cloud is added a lot of autonomy to it through Tera agents. These agents help you size the compute, do entire life cycle for compute in terms of spawning it, killing it, shrinking it, expanding it. All that happens automatically. They make sure that they tune the queries to get the most out of the compute. They look and observe all the telemetry and then do FinOps for you to make sure that it's all managing your SLAs and your costs and your budget. So that's what Tera agents do. I want to show all this in action. I'm going to ask Ripley Yates to come join me on stage and show this in action. He's the head of all of our autonomous efforts. Ripley, welcome.
Thank you, Sumit. I'm good. So with Teradata Cloud, our customers are increasingly experimenting rapidly with tools like our MCP server. They connect agents, they build conversational workflows, and they run analytics pipelines directly against their data. Teams, they run pilots, they build momentum, they prove value, but then comes the hard part. They need to move from pilot to production infrastructure, and it's still a manual and time-consuming task. Users have to do things like analyzing resource profiles from the pilot telemetry. They need to extrapolate that to production scale and usage patterns. And then once that's done, they have to configure all of the manual infrastructure configurations needed to make that a reality. So today, I want to follow an admin at a healthcare claims company. Their data team just completed a successful pilot on conversational BI for their users. based around claims and provider data. The end users loved it. But now it's time to move to production. Here's how Tera agents can help handle the heavy lifting. Let's take a look. So to get started, the admin operates in the same Tera autonomous space that you've seen previously today. They enter their natural language request. They don't need a huge amount of detail. We have context layer and memory to retrieve. And Tera agents break down their intent into classification of intent, plan, constraints, and boundaries. It also suggests and pushes back where it needs more information. In this case, it suggests an auto-scaling limit as a deterministic guardrail to ensure FinOps is maintained in an appropriate blast radius without becoming noisy. The admin accepts the default, and immediately it hands off to our telemetry agent, who is analyzing the resource usage from the pilot. It's calculating utilization. It also detects something the admin didn't specify. In this case, overnight usage that is consistent between 1 and 4 in the morning, and it looks like batch analytics. So it collects all this into a resource summary, and it hands it to a sizing agent. And that sizing agent makes extrapolation decisions based on the user's declared usage patterns and common assumptions, and it suggests a resource profile. In this case, Elastic Cloud, and 3 cluster setup, an always-on cluster in the day that's provisioned during business hours, since that's where the traffic occurred, as well as a burst cluster backup that activates on queue depth, and an overnight cluster, because it doesn't make any sense to carry a huge always-on cluster through the day into the night for a batch workload. The user is able to see the spend pace, and they confirm acceptance. And with one click, our agent team authors all of the configurations, rules, provisioning schedules needed to make this a reality. So to fast forward, the system has now been in production for 2 weeks. Users have been hitting it with production workloads. And while an admin could, of course, go into a consumption dashboard to view this with full granularity of attribution, we don't think they should have to. Tera agents can generate summaries and performance health updates on whatever cadence is appropriate. And we also think that while you can view this in our UI, you shouldn't have to, right? We can send it to Teams, we can send it to Outlook, any email source. We believe in meeting people where they are. Now, if you go even further out, maybe 2 more weeks, so you've been in production a month, you have fairly stable usage now. Suddenly, we have enough telemetry that we're able to generate a proactive recommendation. In this case, our agent opens, without prompting, returns a proactive optimization around telemetry for tightening provisioning. And in this case, it's noticed that, hey, our utilization is under 70% on the main. Our burst activation rates are really low. And actually, the start time is later than we originally predicted. So it suggests several changes, moving the start time later in the day, as well as downsizing the main cluster from a 6x to a 5x. And all of this is done with new cost estimates. But because of that auto-scaling rule and the estimates being less than 100 units a month, all of these are done automatically with full transparency to the user, logged as updates and notifications. Now, what makes this different? At Teradata, we don't believe in making people choose between control and full automation through hardware abstraction. We think we can get you the best of both worlds, right? And we can do this through intelligent agents that operate autonomously within the constraints and boundaries that you define, keeping decisions really in charge, or keeping humans rather, really in charge of the decisions that matter. Thank you. Back to you, Sumit.
Thank you, Ripley. So folks, we're building the new company, the Autonomous Enterprise. We looked at 3 challenges, and we addressed them quickly through our parts of the platform. Essentially, we looked at closing the gap between knowledge and translating knowledge into action through Tera and Teradata AI Studio. We looked at making sure that AI and knowledge go together by ensuring that with the Fabric concept and also the Teradata Factory, and also looked at the unbounded consumption pricing bill, the bill shock, in the era of agents, which are always on and vigorous, and we solved for that through the new approach to Teradata Cloud, again, reimagined for the agentic era. Now, that is not enough, though, to solve for building the new enterprise. We have to look at use cases. We have to look at measures and metrics of success, measurable outcomes, and we have to make sure that the platform is put to those use cases and those actually succeed. the pilot really goes to production. And that cannot be done without complementing that with AI services, which is the other important pillar of the Autonomous Knowledge Platform. And there is no one better than our Chief Operating Officer, Mike Hutchinson, and we call him Hutch, to join me on the stage and talk to us about how AI services helps you make that shift to the new company. Hutch, welcome.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you. Good to see you. Glad to be here.
All right. Okay. Let me ask a few questions to you, Hutch.
Okay.
AI Studio is a powerful platform. Of course, I'm going to say that.
Why would you not?
But we both know that software alone doesn't guarantee outcomes. So how can we help turn AI Studio software into something a customer is getting real value from and fast?
Yep. So one of the things about late last year, we introduced AI services. And the reason we did it is, as we looked at the great stuff that Sumit is bringing to the market, what we did really come to the agreement of AI at the enterprise level is not self-service. And so we introduced AI services to help customers bring use cases to life. And in fact, this week, there's an announcement out there. It was an interesting announcement. You guys probably saw it as well. Anthropic announced AI services. So I think it goes to the point that in this world of AI, you still need people that understand things like your business, your data, your governance, understands guardrails, and most importantly, how to put security around it. So we introduced our AI services, and the goal of those is to bring use cases to life. And we do that in a way where we engage with customers directly, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but is to get to use cases. And what happens we see with our customers is a flywheel. You get a use case, you get it into production, you get there quickly, and guess what? It spawns the next use case, the next request that customers have. So one great example is we're working with a global airline who is really focused on a premium customer experience. And the area that they really wanted to focus on was those frequent flyers. And the first use case that they had was onboarding. They wanted hyper-personalization beyond what anyone has ever done as they bring in new flyers into their program. We delivered that use case. Quickly, though, guess what? The next use case came about. The next use case was really around protecting those, because guess what? Fraud happens with those frequent flyer programs, just like your bank account. And they're really trying to detect fraud and how to solve fraud. That use case completed, guess what? A next use case around making the baggage experience better. Our work with this airline is continuing this flywheel of use cases. It's all about doing these use cases, doing them quickly, getting them in production, getting value to the customers quicker than they've ever done. But they need that set of services around it to help them get there.
Yeah, I like that. Basically, we have essentially the knowledge, we have AI, we brought them together, but AI services brings the experience, which is so important, the context in some ways.
You got to bring the context.
Exactly. All right. So what's basically smart about this model is that it meets customers wherever they are on their journey, because they're all at different points. So tell us about how we help this with our packages.
Yeah, so you even saw earlier, customers are in very different places in their journey to AI. So the way we've really structured this with customers is a set of tiered packages, right? And the way we deliver them is through sprints. And those sprints are all about, as I said, getting to use cases, getting them quickly. Some customers will engage, in full, year-long engagements with a set of use cases they want delivered. Some customers want to try before they really commit to an ongoing. So it's a very flexible model in terms of commercially how we set it up. But more importantly, Sumit, is how we deliver it. And we actually deliver it with Sumit's team engaged as well. And it's the forward deployed engineer model. It's putting small teams of people with the requisite skills on site, embedding them with the customers so that we can actually get to use cases and get them quicker and get them deployed. Filling that gap of getting from POC to production in a timely manner. The best thing is, what I really love is we get to bring feedback back to Sumit and his team in terms of what we're seeing in the field. And so when we talk about, where do we want to take AI Studio? Where do we want to move forward with cloud or the factory? that feedback is coming directly from our teams to Sumit and his team. We've got a great example with a global bank where we're doing this. They wanted not only to get to use cases, but they also realized, Sumit, these things need care and feeding. Models drift over time, regulatory requirements change, security changes, and so having a set of sustainment services along with getting to use cases is critically important. Our customers are seeing that, and they're asking for these services beyond what we expected.
Love it. I love it, Mike. I think, I like the fact that it's outcomes in weeks, not months. I like that. And I love the fact that you cannot build product in AI without services. I mean, that's how this hand-holding is how you build a great product. Yep, so absolutely. Great to partner with you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely, Sumit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I mentioned earlier that as part of the Teradata Autonomous Knowledge Platform, as we brought AI and knowledge together, we felt very strongly that we needed to partner with specialist technology companies. And there's always this choice, I'm going to say this, the big and the mighty are getting bigger and mightier, to be honest. But that's a best of suite type of situation. And best of breed is also a very, very good alternative, especially if the best of breed come together and closely integrate. That's what we are doing with Carini, Pinecone, Unstructured, and Wisdom.ai. What I'm going to do is I'm going to request the CEOs of these amazing companies to join me on the stage for a conversation around what this means for our customers. So Nitin, Ash, Brian, Soham, Nitin from Carini, Ash from Pinecone, Brian from Unstructured, and Soham from Wisdom. Thank you for joining me, joining us today. All right. So thank you for coming all the way to New York and joining us here. It means a lot to us. Now, each of you has built a company around a critical piece of the agentic AI puzzle. So I'm just going to ask this question to all of you, which is in one sentence each. Right? What's the single hardest problem your enterprise customers hit today when they try to move from AI demos to production? We talked about that, production agentic systems. And why does that problem get worse at scale? And I'm going to start with you, Soham, on this one.
Okay. First of all, thanks so much for having us here. Really, really excited for the partnership. So at Wisdom AI, we build end-user facing analytics. This is essentially using AI for business decision making. In this, I would say the single biggest problem that our customers face in going from prototype to production is, can you rely on the results that you're getting? Can you trust the answers that you're getting? Your kind of the decisions that folks make with our data is, there is a board meeting going on and you want to really understand why your sales are moving in a certain direction. You cannot have an error in this particular decision. So again, the biggest thing is how can you guarantee accuracy? And all of this absolutely gets worse at scale. Building a prototype, you have probably all used ChatGPT, Claude. It works great on a single spreadsheet, perhaps. But the moment you're talking about enterprise scale data, getting trust and accuracy is an extraordinarily hard problem, and that's what we're solving for our customers.
Thank you, so Brian.
Hey everybody, Brian Raymond with Unstructured. At Unstructured, we deliver Gen AI ready data, and I think that building on what you just heard, the biggest challenge that our customers have are articulating and actioning a Gen AI data strategy. A lot of them have spent the last couple of years identifying use cases, prototyping, developing a broader Gen AI strategy, and now they're at the point where they have a proliferation of POCs, and they're looking at how do we scale this into production.
I think delivery of trusted knowledge at the speed and scale that the agents need. More importantly, you pointed out somewhere, at the cost that the AI promised from an ROI perspective. Because you talked about the compute costs, we haven't talked about the other hidden cost called the token costs. And in demo, the context is controlled. Everything looks nice. But as soon as you turn on production, one unreliable answer is the difference between a CIO either putting a human in the loop on every control or truly making it autonomous. And more importantly, one explosion of tokens, as Karine has pointed out and will point out, is the difference between the Cambrian explosion of agents that you promised to have that hits the wall of explosion of tokenomics that you didn't plan to have. I think those are the two big things.
Yeah.
Speed, accuracy, scale, and cost.
Makes sense. Nitin?
Yeah, congratulations on the launch. Glad to be here. So I think what we have seen is a lot of customers are really good at now building agents or agentic workflows, then deploying them. The challenge we are seeing is beyond deployment, as they go from MVP to full production, how do you scale those agents? Because of the economics, outlier scenarios that they encounter, and these models are retiring so fast. How do you nurture those agents as state of the art is moving, right? We have some customers started before MCP. Now, do you retire everything and start fresh, or do you fast forward or evolve those agents? So I think that whole scaling and nurture nurture phase of agent building is a problem.
That's great. So what I heard is accuracy, scale, trust, token economics, and of course, the rate of change, essentially. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to ask this question to Brian. Brian, our customers sit on decades of PDFs, contracts, we have examples of that, images, emails, call transcripts. The data they care about most is often the data that's hardest to use. So when you look inside a typical large enterprise, how much of their highest value data is essentially invisible to AI today? And what becomes possible when Teradata can turn that dark data into something agents can actually reason over, right alongside the structured data that those companies already trust us with?
Yeah, I think that this is a really important point. What we've seen as this journey's kind of gone on over the last couple of years are isolated demos and proofs of concept where they take like a hero run of data, pre-process it, index it in a Pinecone, and then build a solution around it. That works fine around 100 files or 1,000 pages. When you're looking at enterprise scale data, almost all of it, about 80% of enterprise data is unstructured, is invisible to MCP today. And so as agents are being built, as they're proliferating, most of it is invisible to MCP servers and to these agents, however they're connecting to them. And so I think that with the stack that we're integrating together here with you, that's becoming visible, not only on the unstructured data side, but then with the enormous amount of structured data that drives business value today.
Yeah. I mean, this has been a problem. Like bringing the two worlds together just solves so much.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, we're going to ask this question to Brian and Ash. So agents are only as good as the data they can reach. Between getting messy enterprise data into a usable form and retrieving the right vectors at query time, what changes now that both of these capabilities live inside the Teradata ecosystem?
Sure. I think that we're going from a world, and this is a recurring theme in my comments here, around technically feasible to productionized. And the reality, as we have a forward deployed engineering team, as is Teradata, and we all work together here, is that what happens is you have these isolated teams that struggle to get access to data because somebody is the gatekeeper of the data. They struggle to get access to infrastructure, to get tokens, to get models. And it's really an enormous amount of work just to move a great idea and a great use case into production. What we're doing here, locking arms here at the infrastructure layer, is the difference between 1, 2, 3 use cases in production and dozens of use cases in production in a fraction of the time because we're simplifying the infrastructure stack.
Yeah. You mentioned this. This is the largest and probably the biggest obstacle to the enterprise customers is trust. And the framework Teradata provides finally has a point where the entire chain of trust is unbroken. Unstructured, under the governance framework, moves the data from source into Pinecone. We enable trusted knowledge to be available in real time, accurate, at the speed that agents require, that you can actually make decisions. We talked about 24/7 business. Well, they also need to make decisions 24/7. And that framework is super important. Not only is it trust, but eventually you do want outcomes because you can have a trust and zero outcomes. That's not pretty great. So I think this is super important to have the ability for us to have source of data all the way to action that can be taken under the framework with the outcomes at the cost you really require.
Makes sense. All right, let's go to the next question here, which is on context. So I'm going to ask this to Ash and Soham. Context is everything for agents. We all hear about that. An agent that retrieves the right data or vector but misses the business meaning behind it will still give a wrong answer. So how do your two technologies come together inside Teradata to give agents not just relevant data, but genuinely rich, trustworthy context, the kind that turns a result into a decision an enterprise can actually act on? A big question.
Yeah, no, I think this is another similar framework part here. I mean, these are two different things. One is retrieval of knowledge. The other one is to actually do something with that knowledge in the context that I am running, my business is running. The framework we have done is to have find, code, deliver the absolutely trusted knowledge at the speed and accuracy you need. That's one part of it. The second part is to partner with wisdom to say, what does that knowledge mean to me in my role, in the context that I need? And that's the real difference between actually business being autonomous versus a human in the loop every time trying to figure out what decision do I make.
Absolutely. I was going to start by saying context is everything for agents, which I've already said. The interesting thing about context is, or same thing with data as well, when you bring in a lot of data together and when you bring in a lot of context together, you are at the same time also bringing in a lot of noise to the systems. And AI systems essentially require very high quality context, which is what drives accuracy. So a lot of the work that we have done at Wisdom AI is how do we extract this signal from the noise so that we can drive this massive amount of accuracy to the system. And the second thing about context that's very important is context is not static. It's not one and done. It keeps evolving. In fact, as your business moves, your data changes, as does your business context. So how do you ensure that your context is accurate and keeps evolving as your business moves? That's the place where we provide a lot of exciting IP we have built, and we're very excited to partner with Teradata on that.
That's lovely, yeah. The partnership on context is very important for all of us together.
Yep.
And I love your point about context is a living thing. It's living and breathing, so it's always evolving. That's lovely. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to ask this to Nitin and Soham. So building one agent is hard enough, but our customers need to orchestrate dozens of agents. That's where we are heading, across different business functions, all grounded in trusted enterprise knowledge. How does this partnership let customers go from one clever agent to an agentic enterprise without losing control or accuracy? Go ahead, Nitin.
Yeah, so every enterprise today is thinking about transforming into an agentic organization, right? So every business function either will have automation or augmentation. For example, insurance underwriting, loan origination, demand planning, demand sensing. These are like army of agents. So we are in the business of agent development lifecycle, right? Which is traditionally different than writing software, because agents they change often than the software does. There are outlier scenarios, edge cases, human in the loop, and that allows, so you need a framework that allows you to rapidly change without disrupting agents in production. So I think our partnership with the whole data that Teradata has across lines of business enables them to build agents at scale and unlock a lot of value.
Amazing.
Amazing. I think great answer, Nitin. The great news here is that our customers are really, really dreaming. So again, in the context of analytics, the questions people used to ask us to solve for them was, why is my revenue not going up? Next question becomes, okay, what should I do about it? And now it's about, well, if you know what should I do about it, why don't you just go and do it, right? So it goes from asking a basic why question to figure out what to do about it to finally take the action. So again, agents are getting more complicated. People are demanding that agents do a lot more. They just get a lot more autonomy. Again, it comes back to how do you deploy them reliably, because it's not enough for it to work once in the pilot. It needs to work every day. It needs to work every week. So it comes down to like building a different framework. Honestly, it's like you need like it's not exactly traditional software engineering. It's a lot about building the training framework, building the evaluation framework, building the guardrails. It's a different way of working. I see all sorts of organizations kind of restructuring their own teams to kind of embrace this agentic enterprise.
Sure. Yeah, excellent point, Soham. Before I go to the last question to all of us, I'm just going to make one comment that Nitin from Carini chose to invest in a low-code approach to do agent lifecycle, keeping humans in mind, which was a very interesting choice, and I know we chatted about it. But I think this question and the answers, your comments, actually probably validate that approach right there. All right, so we'll ask this question to all of you, and we'll start with Nitin on this one. If we fast forward 12 months, and this partnership amongst us, all of us coming together, has been a huge success for a joint customer, and it will be, what does that customer's world look like? What can they do with their data and agents that they simply couldn't before we came together? I'll start with Nitin.
Yeah, I think jointly with Teradata, we want to unlock business value in line of business, right? So we want to move beyond shared services IT, because line of business IT has the core business knowledge, and they are the ones who care about outcomes. So I think in 12 months, I would love to see many agents or agentic workflows that are augmenting or automating line of business IT's work.
Good goal.
Yeah.
Ash?
I think you just drew a bunch of architectures today that fundamentally in 12 months we get to the point where you stop asking the question of, can we trust this agent's both information it provides and the action it takes? Because that's when you get to the autonomous part. But you look at the architecture, and it's very clear that the framework of architecture you put together makes it obvious that it is going to happen. One, you have a governed framework to move the data from the source with unstructured, convert that into knowledge at Pinecone, have agents actually use trusted knowledge at the speed at which they need, provide a business context with wisdom. Seems pretty feasible.
Absolutely. Brian?
Yeah, that slide that we saw earlier this morning about speed versus velocity, that's been on my mind a lot. And I think that what we've seen over the last couple of years is a lot of the speed on, like, okay, identifying the use cases, trying to get the performance there. I think that we're at a breakout moment for AI adoption and agentic adoption, particularly within regulated industries, in a way that we haven't seen before. One of these bottlenecks that have existed are being relaxed, and that's going to allow the proliferation of these use cases to go into production.
Great answer.
Awesome. So your question was about customer. I think you meant the enterprise. I'll reframe it a little bit. Let's talk about the specific individuals that we sell to. They are the data engineers, the data analysts, the data scientists. These are the people who hold the crown jewels of any organization. The business context, they understand the data. I think in the next 12 months, these are going to be the superpowers for the AI change agents, superstars for the enterprise. They are going to be the AI builders. They are going to be the AI managers. So there is a role transformation that's happening. And I think all of us together are going to be essentially facilitating that transition. And I like this particular angle purely because AI is all about doom and gloom these days. But I think we are making super users, superstars of the people we work with.
That is a great way to close. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for the partnership. I couldn't be more excited, and love the focus on the people besides the technology. Thank you so much.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. All right, I'll keep going while they keep moving the chairs. So let's do a little quick summary here. I'm going to ground us again. We're building the new company. We're building the autonomous enterprise. We launched the Teradata Autonomous Knowledge Platform today. We spoke about bringing AI-driven autonomy and knowledge together in one unified system and closing that gap, where knowledge itself now senses, decides, acts, and adapts. We spoke about how we do that across any place you choose to with Teradata Cloud and Teradata Factory. We spoke about making sure that no agent is starved, by delivering Fabric and the ability to bring data results to agents wherever they are. And we spoke about how services and product work together to make this real. And then we highlighted our partnerships today to kind of highlight an important thing. It sounds easy, but this autonomous knowledge is a hard problem, folks. And there's a lot that needs to happen. And by actually not just announcing these partnerships, our product teams are working together to curate and integrate and create a unified system for agents and humans together. That is important and very special. So that's what we spoke about today. And what I'm going to do next is essentially go back and invite Ray and Martin Wilcox. Martin heads the field technical organization for AI at Teradata. And Ray, we heard Ray. We got an outside-in perspective from Ray. We got an like a Teradata field perspective from Richard Petley. Martin is part of Richard's organization. So now that you heard, come on over. Now that you heard the launch and what we are building, let's talk about how you feel and what your comments on that are. So I'm going to ask some questions. That's what I'm going to do. And so Ray, I'm going to start with you. All right?
Okay.
And by the way, I can't match your energy, okay? So, all right. Ray, with all the changes in the market, is autonomous knowledge the right approach for enterprises right now? Just share with us.
Yeah, I think the big thing we talk about is decision velocity, right? That move from data to decisions is happening right now. And the piece that we don't have in a lot of these systems is context. And having that context, whether it's the weather, it's the location, the time, where were you in the process, that all has to come together because our decisions are being made very quickly and we need to get to precision decisions. So for example, if I told you it's 85% accurate in customer experience, would you guys be okay with that? It's not too bad. If I told you 85% accurate in supply chain, ooh, that gets pretty bad. If I told you 85% accuracy in finance, anybody want to go to jail? If I told you 85% accuracy in healthcare, I don't know. And that's why it's so important to be able to deliver on that.
Awesome, excellent. All right, so I'm going to focus on Teradata Factory now. It's a deliberate bet on sovereign. And on-premises AI. And Martin, I'm going to ask this question to you, which is, what are you hearing from customers about that demand? And who is driving it? Is it the CISO, the CFO, the regulator? Is it a vertical story, financials, government, healthcare? Or are you seeing it cut across industries?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit depends where you are in the world and who you're talking to, right? But I think we see three clear sets of opportunities. I think in parts of the world, Middle East, parts of South Asia will be really great examples. There has been, or there's always been reluctance or regulatory issues for moving lots of data to the cloud. And some of the geopolitics and some of the uncertainty that that's creating that we see right now means that some of those concerns are spreading westward into Europe as well. So that's one clear block of opportunity. I think in the regulated industries, to your point, which are over half of Teradata's business, right? There's renewed interest in having some of the most sensitive data managed on cloud and interest in hybrid architectures and deployments. And so all the fabric technologies that you talked about earlier are incredibly relevant and give us a really strong play in that area. And then I think the third set of opportunities that are kind of interesting, emerging for Teradata right now, but particularly in Europe, we're seeing a huge investment in next generation defense and intelligence platforms. And by definition, those are always going to be air-gapped, right?
Yeah, that's lovely. That's great. All right. So we are calling out this cloud shock, the unbounded consumption pricing as a real enterprise problem. Is cost unpredictability a real market issue?
Oh, definitely. And actually, one of our CFOs has the best quote. He says, all my costs go down with time and volume except for bleep, healthcare, and SaaS. So it's pretty much the issue. The predictability and consumption is going to be a huge issue, and not being able to understand what the metric is. You don't want to have a vanity metric like conversations. Like, what does that mean? You really do need something that is outcome-based.
That's great.
And just quickly on that point, I mean, I think we're going to give some examples at our analyst event this afternoon of AI and machine learning workloads that we can run 10x, 15x, 25x faster than the competition. Whoa. And it's kind of boring when vendors brag about speeds and feeds, right? But all other things being equal, if I'm 10x faster, then you can do 10x more workload with the same resources, or you can pay 10x less with elastic compute. And when you think about some of the markets we operate in and the really significant inflationary pressures and the struggle for growth in some of those markets, to the point of your presentation, presentation this morning, Ray, 10x is a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a huge deal. And performance is economics, for sure. Absolutely. All right. I am super excited, obviously, about Tera, our agentic AI workspace. Right, Martin? How does Tera differ from how teams traditionally work across analytics and development tools? And Ray, I'll ask you a simple follow-on question on Tera, which is what becomes possible that wasn't before. So start with Martin.
Well, I mean, there's a lot we could say there, but there's a countdown clock in front of me. So I guess I'll focus on the single most exciting thing about Tera is that ability to crush time to market and time to value for new analytics. Between the technology that you're giving us in Tera, between Hutch's AI services organization and portfolio, we're seeing the organizations that we work with go from bright idea to in production at scale in weeks. And I think that is incredibly exciting. We just did an engagement recently with a huge commercial vehicle operator, 3 forward deployed resources, an industry strategist, a data scientist, a data engineer, 2 weeks. We converted thousands of lines of PySpark to run really complex AI and ML pipelines on Teradata, 10x faster than Spark. And this was a project that would previously have taken months.
That's a great example. Ray?
I would say that a business user that has never seen Teradata before can actually achieve the results they wanted to without talking to someone that's technical. And we're going to see more and more of that. And this is why we spend a lot of time saying that expertise is a commodity, but experience is not.
Great point. Love it. I'm going to quote you, Ray. I'm going to copy all these. I just want you to know.
Take them all.
So, Ray, I'm going to ask you this question from your perspective. So, where is the market getting ahead of reality on AI?
I think it's ahead when we actually believe that systems are going to be completely autonomous and that there's not going to be a human in the loop. One of the things that we can't do is abdicate responsibility for outcomes, and you're going to see that being built into governance models. Earlier this week, I spent some time on an NACD board call talking about governance models for AI, and the number one thing is I've got to be able to account for an outcome in a workflow, in a process, and somewhere at the end of the day, it's going to end up at an HITL situation with a human in the loop.
Yeah, that's great. Martin, a follow-on to that same question, which is, where are customers actually further along than people think?
Well, I've been personally amazed by just how much traction MCP has got and how quickly. I think we've got serious sales opportunities and conversations in a huge percentage of our customers around MCP already. And I think what that tells us is that a lot of the organizations that we work with, most of the organizations that we work with, are at least experimenting with agentic technologies. Now, to the point of Rich's presentation, not all of those experiments will turn to gold or turn to gold straight away. But I think pretty much everybody is experimenting with the deployment of agentic solutions, and there's widespread acceptance, I think, now in the industry that those solutions cannot work unless we connect the agents with the context that they need to make smart decisions, and that context is really just shorthand for data in back-end data platforms like Teradata, right?
Yeah, great, awesome. All right, so I think with that, I'm going to thank you both. Great conversation. Thank you again, Ray and Martin, for joining us. And I think it's time for me to recap, all right? Quick recap, and then we'll close us out. So folks, we're building the new company. We're building an autonomous enterprise. We launched the Teradata Autonomous Knowledge Platform, a new paradigm. What I'll share with you is that behind all the products and the platform that we launched are some really, really great Teradata principles. Some of them have stood the test of time. Co-location, which means that data and its compute are always together. In today's world, that means knowledge and AI are always together. Performance, this focus on performance at scale. Performance, performance, performance. Performance is equal to economics, right? That's there, and it is even more vital as you kind of scale agentic AI. The third is context, the experience. This is not just a knowledge and AI coming together, it's knowledge, AI, and experience coming together. The focus on industry context, that experience in financials, the healthcare, telco, retail, whatever it is. Choice, you can deploy where you need to, on-prem, multi-cloud, hybrid. Choice of type of compute, always on, elastic, being able to intelligently arbitrate cost around those. And then obviously a fresh approach today, which is the workspace, the agentic AI workspace. This is a new principle, but an important one. This is where agents and humans go to work, And you can do complete autonomy, you can do human in the lead, you can do human in the loop, but the workspace, the goal is to bring that, translate knowledge into action, to bring that operationalization of knowledge that was missing. And that is important. We spoke about the platform launch today, and we spoke about the paradigm shift. We are making knowledge itself sense, decide, act, and adapt. We do that through Tera and AI Studio. We do that through Teradata Cloud and Teradata Factory, a fresh approach, Fabric that connects it all, AI services that makes it all real with use cases and ROI, and then partnerships. We spoke about Accenture partnership for Sovereign Cloud, Carini, Pinecone, Unstructured, Wisdom.ai, all of us coming together because doing autonomous knowledge is not easy. But if we all work together, build the context together, build the integrations, it really becomes possible for knowledge to achieve that. We obviously also spoke about other partnerships today, especially the fact that we built the factory together with Dell and NVIDIA, and this is something that we'll continue to do. And last but not least, you could choose Teradata for our versatile engine. Obviously, it's an amazing engine. It can do a lot with data vectors models. You could choose us for our the best context and the industry context that we bring to the table. But the reality is what remains constant in today's world is trust. And we have delivered and earned your trust based on performance, on quality, on resilience, on scale. And what I want to do from here on is absolutely earn your trust, continue to earn your trust through partnering together, because we are all on a new journey. We all need to build a new company. We're all like 6 to 12 months old. You, my customers, have to build it. I have to build it. Let's partner together, and I'll be the best partner to you. Obviously, Teradata will be the best partner to you, and we'll continue to earn your trust through that partnership. With that, I'm going to ask Steve McMillan, our CEO, to come back and close us out. Steve?
Fantastic. You did a great job. Great job. So thank you, everybody. Like I'm going to be very brief. What you've just seen is essentially the next stage for Teradata. And it's built on all of the capabilities we've constructed over the last 45 years. From being the best enterprise data warehouse for having industry data models, to moving to a multi-cloud data platform that delivers analytics at enterprise scale. And now looking at being the autonomous knowledge platform for our customers. We couldn't do that without the partners that came and spoke today, so thank you so much for your time and energy and traveling, whether it's Accenture, Carini, Pinecone, Unstructured, or Wisdom.ai. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for your time and attention today. I said that I think you're going to be surprised by some of the things that we stand up and talk about today, and some of the language we use, and some of the examples and demonstrations that we gave. I hope we delivered on that promise for you, and we look forward to working with you and partnering into the future. Thank you, everybody. Thanks very much.
I am the problem, it's me.